16 of Live Free with Rebecca Bush. I've had a stressful day, and to make matters more interesting, we had some serious audio and tech issues getting started. So unfortunately, Kurt is not able to join us for this interview today, but I do have Lucinda Bailey from Texas Ready with us for this interview. She's an epic gardener, knows so much about heirloom seeds, and really having high yield gardening and very efficient gardening known as the Mittleiter method for gardening. Actually, just a year ago, I took a course with Lucinda. She led a course at the Haven Earth House, which was at that time in Kingsbury, Texas, right on the San Marcos River. And it was a great experience. I learned so much. And I've actually been ordering seeds from Texas Ready since the pandemic. When the pandemic happened in 2020, I started researching, hey, I want to, buy some seeds. And I was like looking for options online, and the stars aligned and I was able to connect with Lucinda, and I ordered seeds through Texas Ready's website. And then we ended up meeting in person at an event, one of the events that was hosted in the Hill Country. And, she had her booth there. I was like, hey, I know your company. And long story short, Lucinda and Kurt are business partners. They've been great partners with us at the Exit and Build Land Summit. And I'm going to let Lucinda actually talk more about her experience, what brought her to this industry, and also all the great work that she and Kurt are doing with Texas Ready Seeds. So welcome to the Live Free with Rebecca Bush podcast, Lucinda Bailey.
Thank you, Rebecca. It's always a joy to reconnect with you guys, and I love your exit and build philosophy. This is something we've been talking about for a long time. How do you build community and become as sustainable as possible, just in case those supply chains don't work like we've been accustomed to? And of course, Texas Ready is totally into food production. We go all the way up. Got a cutie. Yeah, buddy. We love them animals. So we're all into animal husbandry, butchering, processing, properly storing your food. But we all know that the garden is the very first, that's the foundation of food sustainability. And so, we want to garden effectively, and most of our clientele are in Texas. We know that, but we've got customers in Maine and Washington and Arizona, and gardening styles, can change based on your climate. We wanted something that would work everywhere. And at that time, I was teaching at Lone Star College, the largest college system in America. I taught gardening, taught 39 different methods of gardening, but I knew that I did not have the Holy Grail. I kept looking and searching for the thing that was going to be cheap, effective, high yield, and nutrient dense at the end of the day, because that's what we're going to need if we can't go to HEB, Kroger's, etc., to get our food. So I began that journey of, prayerfully asking the Lord to direct my path, and let's find, the very best gardening method. And He did clearly direct me to Mittleiter. And the minute that we found out about Mittleiter, we converted everything in our 27-acre ranch over to this style of gardening, and we would not look back. Our problems with bugs have virtually been eliminated. In terms of nutrient dense, I find, if you have a nutrient dense product, you don't have to eat as much. Your body isn't craving it. You're not starving throughout the day. That has been a real surprise to me, but it makes sense.
Yeah.
And then, we just want to keep the very best quality of seeds. That means, of course, we're not buying anything from China. We're really supporting our Texas and our American farmers that are perfectly capable of producing the heirloom seeds that everybody needs. So that's kind of how the backstory to Texas Ready.
Yeah, I love it. In a moment here, I can share screen and show everyone your beautiful website and all the offerings. I mean, the ammo case in and of itself is just like, yes, it's like the perfect representation, how it's packaged. I'm like, oh, what you guys stand for is so cool. But so you'll be joining us at the Exit and Build Land Summit. And I know many people in our audience are familiar with your work, but for folks who, haven't crossed paths with you or Kurt yet, can you share a little bit about what people can expect to hear you present on at this year's Exit and Build Land Summit?
Absolutely. Now, I'm a real big fan of not overproducing things that your family isn't going to eat, and making sure that you have adequate. So we have a system of food production where we back engineer, like let's suppose your family of four wanted to have a serving of green beans once a week. That sounds pretty reasonable. Well, how many green beans should you plant? Should you plant pole beans? Should you plant bush beans? Because the production levels are completely different. And the length of time in your garden space is completely different. What are your weather patterns? Are you able to do 3 gardens a year like I can in the Houston, area? Or, are you from Maine where you only have about 95 days to get the whole job done? All these things matter. So we help you work backwards, and if you like predictability and you don't like, to be caught, you know, with your pants the proverbial pants down, but you want to make sure that your family is going to be getting adequate nutrition, this is absolutely the garden plan for you because I can tell you to the seed tray how many plants you're going to need to do. We have a whole, of course, we all know that germination rates decline over time. And so we take that factor in when we're telling you how many seed trays to produce of all the different things that your family eats. And why practice and grow on stuff that your family won't eat? So we will help you personalize your food production. And then we of course, beginning gardeners, we say, look, if you can keep your plants alive for 90, give yourself an A report card. But your second year gardeners, we want you to start from seed trays, right? And then the third year people, we want you to save seeds. And there's tricks on all these different levels, and we'll help you through it.
Yep, absolutely. And I think something that a lot of people are maybe overlooking are the challenges to the food supply and maybe feeling overwhelmed by that. Like there's been so many processing factory fires and a lot of land being acquired by Bill Gates. And, there's like there's just instability, and there's nothing more rewarding, I think, than knowing that you have a backup plan, like if things go down that aren't expected. Like, I mean, even if it's not something in terms of the supply chain due to those reasons, there's also, like, in Texas we had a crazy freak accident snowstorm that lasted like a week during snow apocalypse in 2021. And it's like, there's got to be ways to kind of skirt the system and create our own redundancy, right? So, could you speak to a little bit of the work that you're doing with Texas Ready in the local community? I know that you guys have been
Sure.
doing gardening meetings and like getting kind of crossing bridges and uh, inviting folks out to learn about gardening. You host really in-depth workshops. I was fortunate to participate in one last year, but can you share a little bit about folks who maybe you've never even gardened before, kind of what you guys are
Sure.
doing for that outreach in the community and getting people's hands in the soil?
Well, today was Community Garden Day, coincidentally. So every Wednesday, we invite people, and we've had homeless people all the way up to multimillionaires come. Some people drive an hour and a half just to come for the training. It's free training. Now, what we do is we believe in the barter system, the fair trade system. It gives people a sense of self, worth, self esteem. The Bible says if you don't work, you don't eat, whatever. So we believe that you will get a lot more out of it if you invest. And so we ask our people to invest about an hour and a half of work. This is work that I need done to keep the garden beds and everything growing and beautiful, and projects and things like that. So the workers contribute. But then we sit down and we say, okay, and we'll take a family and we'll say, let's plan your garden out. And everybody, like I said, is a personalized situation. But our people are getting so good, they can tell these people exactly how many beans to plant. And there's no other garden system that'll do that. And then they can tell you how much plant nutrition you're going to need. Let's suppose you're like me. I'm very cautious when it comes to this concern about sustainability. I'm believing that there might be 10 years of chaos. Okay, well, how much plant nutrition am I gonna have to save up? Well, I the one good news is that, the plant nutrition that we use does not, there's no shelf life on it. So I will be able, if I have extra, to will it over to my grandbabies. So there's no problem with the storage. And for a family of 4 to store up 10 years of plant nutrition at the cost of $125 per month, I'm sorry, per year, that's all you would need. It will fit under a picnic table. So it doesn't take up a lot of room. Nobody's going to hop your fence and steal your rocks. These are safe minerals. All of the minerals that we use are organic items that an organic farmer has access to. So in that sense, we truly are growing in an organic manner so that there should be no concern on the storage of these plant nutrition items. And so that's a real blessing. And we know that there are 17 elements that are required by plants to grow properly, especially vegetables. Flowers and herbs do not require a lot of extra plant nutrition, but you want to produce that squash. Now we're talking, we gotta pump that plant full of the right nutrition. And if you miss one item in the things that a human body needs, let's suppose you don't have vitamin C. Well, what happens? If you have an injury, your sower will not heal properly because you're lacking vitamin C. If you don't have vitamin D, you're going to get rickets. So the same is true in the garden. Now, all ag schools teach the 17 elements. Unfortunately, gardeners don't seem to get that information. So Texas A&M 25-acre ranch. It is the 2-acre homestead. It's the quarter-acre subdivision lot. It's even the apartment dweller. That is our clientele, and we teach you exactly how to mix up the plant nutrition and to provide the plant at the right dosing rate, what it needs to grow efficiently. Now, a mom that has a wonderful Thanksgiving dinner and a great New Year's dinner, but the rest of the year her family's eating junk food. No,
Yeah.
that's not a good mother, in my opinion, right? And I know that none of you are out there like that, but the illustration is that's how most people garden. In the early spring, they're throwing a whole bunch of amendments in there, and the problem is most people don't realize that much of what they're doing is totally wasted because it volatilizes. It becomes airborne and it evaporates out of your garden. Well, that is no good at all. So we teach you to give regular daily meals to your plant. And that way we can grow our plants in about 2/3 the time that the traditional gardener or even the organic farmer, spends doing it. We can do it at a lot less cost, a lot less energy, and a lot less time. So we think that the Mittleider garden method is definitely the one that we need to use for sustainability and good taste. If a plant is given the 17 required elements in the proper mathematical formulation, which we have on a chart for you, then it's going to taste better. I mean, I've had kids come to the garden saying, I hate vegetables. I'll whip out a carrot and wash it
Yep.
off and stick it in my mouth and then get one or two for them. Oh, I've never tasted anything. Yeah, that's right. Nothing's going to good. Sorry about that. Nothing's going to taste good unless it's all 17
Okay.
required elements. So, and we're finding is
Yeah,
doesn't
you
matter
can
what
definitely taste
political.
the difference when you.
Yes. Okay, so we are having some difficulties in audio. I can't hear you anymore. I'm so sorry. I don't
Yeah,
understand
there's
why
a
we're
little
in and
bit of
out.
lag. Here, let me throw it on my screen real quick. I'm going to show folks what it looks like when you order from Texas Ready. I actually had my seeds on hand, so I wanted to show everyone. Isn't that really cool how everything's put together? And then I want to share screen. Check out their website. So until we get the internet situation back up, I think there's a little bit of a lag. But look at this. So we have Texas Ready Seeds website up. And again, they'll be at the Exit and Build Land Summit. We're honored to have them as a sponsor, partners, and also speakers at the event, Lucinda and Kurt. So this is the website with all the different information. What I was just holding up is the lockbox. So you do have a variety of different options. Oh, and this was really cool too, the freeze dryer, because you can actually freeze dry pretty much anything. But these machines are really handy if you have like a surplus of a bunch of different things that you've harvested. And so, a lot of people are wanting to have a reliable source when it comes to planting from seed. And we strongly endorse Texas Ready for that reason. And kind of what Lucinda was just describing, I mean, you can really taste the difference. And so, they do also have the bag of the 17 the trace minerals, which you take vitamins every day, right? It's kind of like how humans take vitamins, like to have that soil health. And I think it's important for folks who are just getting started with gardening. It's kind of like a win, when you see things growing and the soil's healthy and you're like, hey, I can do this. It's like a confidence boost. But anyway, I'm going to put the website here into the comment section. So I'll just do this. And then let's bring Lucinda back because I think it's working now. Lucinda, can you
that's
hear
wonderful.
me? Okay.
I can
Yay.
hear you. Great. Good.
We're good. Awesome. So let me here's the website. All right, there we go. So texasready.net. And then, there we are. We're both back. Okay. So Lucinda, I wanted to ask you, when you're at the Exit and Build Land Summit, people are always coming up to your booth and asking questions about how to get started. I understand that you worked with Amani and River to create an online course. Could you just share that with folks who maybe can't drive out to your farm and do one of those gardening workshops? What they could expect to learn in that course, and then I'll share the information so they can learn more.
Thank you very much for that, because that is a beautiful opportunity to go through the material, anything that you need to relearn, or just bring the hubby in so that he can be on board. It's a beautiful way to have that knowledge for long term and be able to revisit it. And there's nothing, I mean, if we say that a picture is worth 1,000 words, but being actually hands-on, photographed, watching the process, that's worth 10,000 words. And so we know in gardening that a lot of us did not take very good notes at the knee of our grandparents. And so it's really important for us to be, helping shoulder to shoulder the training. And so it's a training course. It's got about probably 8 to 10 hours. And it will take us all the way through perennials, orcharding, seed saving, and so forth. So it's going to cover a lot more material than just the standard traditional garden. It's going to help you become really food self-sufficient. So I would really, and I think that we're going to, don't quote me, but I think we're going to give you a 50% discount on that course by virtue of being a John and Rebecca Bush person and an Exit and Build attendee. You can actually order that online, and I think we're still going to give you the credit for that. So we really encourage that.
Well, I appreciate that. But I just wanted to make sure people knew that if you're not in Texas, never fear. You can actually learn this method of gardening from the comfort of your home. And I just think that it's awesome that this was produced. And I was there that weekend, and I actually experienced this, live. And so it's so cool that it was edited and put into an easy to consume, online course so that you can learn. And of course, you can accompany this with having Texas Ready seeds on hand. So that's another option too. Of course, if you can go in person to one of the hands-on gardening workshops, that's helpful. And you do a canning workshop. I haven't attended that one. Can you speak to that?
Sure.
Because a lot of people want to learn about canning for food preservation and to have that in the pantry.
Yep, and there's several different methods, styles of canning. You of course know about the jams and the jellies and so forth, and that's usually a water bath canner, right? And that's been traditional for a long time. But what we've learned scientifically is that in order to kill botulism, we really need to have pressure canning. So when we're doing beans and tomatoes and meats, that are going to be stored for at least 5 years, we want to make sure that we kill that botulism. And the only way to do it is to have the temperature exceed 240 degrees for the requisite amount of time. And we teach you how to do that. That requires a special kind of canning item. And it would not be a pressure cooker, which is good for tenderizing meat. Our parents use that quite frequently, but a pressure canner is the correct item. Um, and your pressure cooker will never get to the temperature range that is necessary to kill botulism. So we do have training on that. We have a whole stash of recipes. We have a book that will take you through step by step as though you'd never done it. And even if you're an experienced canner, it's always good to revisit those safety items. So we do have that class. But there's also some things called dry canning. And this is where we take things that are dry goods. You would take your white flour. You can't do this with your wheat germ or anything like that. So we would do white flour. We would do graham cracker crumbs. We would do all kind of crackers, lots of things. Those little goldfish, things that we're going to want to have on hand, just as a morale boosting items, right? And we can get
Yeah.
those to last 10 years through the dry canning method, which we use an oven to do, and so forth. We'll teach you how to do that. There's probably 100 items that you can put in that. And boy, that is really, that's a meal extender for sure. But beyond that, there are things such as fermentating and pickling and so forth. Things that would you could put into your refrigerator for 30 days and so forth. Now that's not long term, but it does help you get some additional, tastes and so forth. And we teach you how to do things that are high in probiotics, which will be very important to keep our gut and so forth healthy in a down economy. So there's just lots of things. And of course, after that, we're going to recommend, well, dehydrating is going to take, it's good for about a 5-year product. And we have dehydrators. The best on the market is the Excalibur, and that's the only, machine that we recommend for dehydrating. And your dehydrated products are great for making, you can make vegetable powders and things like that with it, and they will last 5 years. But beyond that, we recommend freeze drying if you're able to afford it, and it is very efficient. It's 97% of the nutritive value, so it's so much better in that respect. And in many cases, it'll last 20, 25 years. So I just butchered 6 cows, and
Oh,
yeah, that's pretty
wow.
massive assignment, right? And then what we're doing is we are freeze drying that meat so that we can grill it later. We will also pre-cook a lot of that. So there's several ways that you can do it, and the taste differential. I mean, it's like you were just buying a steak from your favorite butcher. So that is a wonderful means of taking care of your food needs. And I love the freeze dryer because you can do a whole chili, right? You don't have to run around and have different components. And then in a down economy where you're really working your tail off, right? The moms will be doing a lot of extra stuff. Then you just pull out this wonderful chili, and it's all mixed up together with the seasonings that your family loves, and it'll last that long period of time, which we're looking forward to. So I'm making a lot of meals and converting them to freeze dried, which you really cannot do with the dehydrating or canning method. So
Yeah.
all these different means and so forth. And of course, we don't start off with the freeze dryer, but if you can afford it, we think it's a great. I mean, look, a steak has pretty much doubled since I began this
It's
journey of freeze
crazy.
drying. And
Food
so,
costs right now is just unbelievable. It's like,
yeah,
hey, if you can grow food, it's like growing money. And you
it
don't
is.
need a huge plot of land. Like you said, there's all sorts of opportunities to go to these, gardening parties or volunteering and work trade, like you were talking about earlier. Like, hey, if you don't have a property yet, go visit a farm that's a organic farm, or go get your
Right,
hands dirty in the field and then walk home with, or go home with, a bunch of produce from there's just so many different options. But for folks
right.
who are just getting into homesteading, or they're just maybe even just thinking about homesteading, like, what would you say? I mean, we all know it's urgent and important to have redundant systems, and there's a lot of
That's right.
instability globally. I mean, we're dealing with so much right now as a species, just conflict in the Middle East and in Ukraine and Russia and all this. It's what's happening on the border in Texas. I mean, so there's so much that is like happening that's
Right.
scary. But when it comes to gardening, it's very peaceful, it's very therapeutic. I mean,
Right.
if someone's never gardened before, the only experience they have is like going maybe to the farmer's market or going to, like you were saying, HEB or Kroger or whatever to get their produce, and they really just are totally new at this. What would you say to them? And like, how would you've been at this for so long, total wealth of knowledge. What would you recommend to folks who are just getting their foot in the door?
Okay, so let's suppose that you are in an apartment and all you have is a balcony. You can get some 5-gallon buckets, paint buckets, $4 or $5 at Lowe's, Home Depot, etc. And you can grow squash, tomato plants, etc. Out of those buckets. That'll give you some experience. And we want to be we want to be learning how to keep our plants alive. Now that you have that confidence, we can branch out and um, what I would say is do a work trade. I have a lady that comes to community garden. Her HOA will not permit her to put a garden in, and so forth. So I've got 27 acres. I have found a couple, rows that she can have, and she's just going to be gardening as though it were in her own backyard. Why? Because she comes and trades that. And if I'm out of town, she's feeding my animals, etc. So we're just finding ways to assist each other and meet each other's needs. And when we meet enough people's needs, we ourselves are going to have our needs perfectly met. And so that's what we're finding is that gardening produces community, and community produces that wholesomeness and that love it's just not possible in the day-to-day roughshod world that we have found ourselves in. But we're choosing to make some different decisions, and we're choosing to invest in people. I had a guy today, definitely a city slicker. This is a young college graduate that can't find a job right now. Well, we're training him to be working with our all of our animals. We taught him how to use a lariat today, and by goodness, he caught himself 2 donkeys today. It was pretty neat.
Woohoo!
Yeah, that was very important. We needed to
That's
move them.
awesome.
So,
Yeah,
these
so you
are
can just
these are
get your
benchmarks, and he's
yep.
loving it, right?
Yeah, and
Check
I
that
think
one off of the bucket list.
something I'm excited about for your presentation, like building gardens, building relationships, like that's the talk title, right?
Right.
So they go hand in hand. And like, even here, I'm at Radical Roots Ranch right now. I'm not at our usual studio spot for this interview because we have folks showing up and we're going to do a work party tonight, at sunset. And
Fun.
mom's here making gluten-free lasagna for everyone, so that when they're done, they can eat a meal. Like, it took me literally weeks. I was trying to get all the weeds out of our garden beds. And then I would go back out the next weekend and they would have just grown back. So I said, you know what? Let's just start doing garden parties every Wednesday. Like you were talking about, you guys had that today. It's a
Right.
coincidence that we both are doing Wednesday, but maybe there's something to that. Maybe Wednesday's the day for gardening. But anyway, when we had, my friend came over, she has a daughter around the ages of my step kiddos, and we all went out there. We knocked it out within less than an hour. The time went by so fast. We had so much fun and very little skill in terms of folks walking into this experience a few weeks ago. Like, what are we doing? What's the game plan? We just all went at it as a team, as a community. And before you knew it, boom, that step was done. And then, okay, let's get this momentum going, and it's like a beautiful thing to work together because it's a lot. It's a lot to grow your own food. And that's why I think the mass
Yes.
production, the centralized food production, at least in America, has been so prevalent. It keeps costs down, but there's a
Right.
detachment to the food that we're eating. And like you were saying earlier, the taste and the nutritional density and quality is just like, what can you even really rely or expect when it's in dead soil? So
Yep.
for folks who have never heard of an heirloom seed versus non-heirloom, what would you say to them, just to explain it briefly? Like, what's the
Okay.
difference? And why is it so much more valuable for to have heirloom seeds planted and
Right.
harvested?
If our economy was beautiful, if our political system was wonderful, I would be recommending that you use a hybrid. A hybrid is generally going to be a lot more strong. It's going to be more. It's going to be more disease resistant. It generally is a little bit more resistant to bugs. There's different ways that they've been bred. The problem is there are three outcomes for garden number two if someone has been growing with hybrids. First of all, 50% of the breeds will now be completely sterile. That's not good. You're not going to get anything for all your hard effort of planting. Or the plant will actually grow up, but it won't flower. It won't fruit. So you're tricked into thinking, oh, I have a squash coming. It's not coming at all. No, it is not. The second outcome, which 25% of the seeds would be, is it would revert up the genetic chain. That's very common in your tomatoes that do hybridize. And so what's happening is you have no idea. It's not going to look like or taste like what's on the seed packet for garden number one. So that's not a very good dependability, sustainability item. The third thing is you plant a cucumber, and I have had this happen. And instead of getting a cucumber, which will feed my family, no, I get a bird gourd because gourds and pumpkins and squash and cucumbers, they're all in the same family. So yikes, I didn't get
Mm.
what I was thinking for at all. And so those are the three outcomes that you will get from use of hybrid seeds in garden number two. So we cannot afford to do that. And in a down economy, you might not have supply chain of going to Lowe's and Home Depot, your feed store, whatever, and the availability of seeds. So we believe that we should be using open pollinated seeds. These are seeds that have been around for at least 8 generations and they've been stable. What's on the seed packet is going to be what you're going to have this year, the next year, for the next 25 to 50 years if you maintain the genetics, the purity of the genetics, which is a whole nother chapter in tools that you need in your toolkit. Um, if the seed has been stabilized for 25 generations, 25 gardens simultaneously, then now we can call it an heirloom. So you can see that
Mm.
the most stable seeds are those that are called heirloom seeds. Now, they're heirloom today, garden number one, they're heirloom, okay? And our goal is to save the seed. But we have got to teach you how to maintain the genetic purity of those seeds because unfortunately, we have GMO, pollen that's floating around. We have
Mhm.
GMO pollen that comes off of a hybrid squash. I'm sorry, bees are going to fly 6 miles. And Mrs. Murphy, that has been told many times you need to grow with heirlooms. No, she's going to use her hybrid stuff. The bees from Mrs. Murphy are going to come into your yard. And if you don't know some tricks that we can teach you very easily, um, you are now hybridizing your own heirloom squash. And that's devastating because you've
Yeah.
defeated, everything that you're, aiming for. Well, we can show you some pretty neat things, some little tricks. There are actually 17 different vegetable families, and each family of these vegetables has their own little individual tricks on how to maintain the purity. We have photographs, and we can teach you how to maintain the purity. So that's what we want to do. And that is very advanced gardening. And what's very interesting is there's only one college, ag college in America, that is teaching the tricks that we're promoting. We use the book Seed to Seed as the textbook that with photographs will show you how to maintain the seed purity. And believe me, you will never guess how to do it properly. I mean, I've been gardening for 40 years and I didn't know half of these things. But this is a very essential book. And I mean, there's only a few books that we think you must have in your reference library as someone that potentially is going to be going through some very tough economic, political, socio times. So those are some things we really want to pass on. We are passionate about making you guys the neighborhood expert, the expert in your church or in your community center, so that other people who have not invested like you are smart enough to be doing can be helped during times of crisis. And we believe those times of crisis are coming, but we don't have to fear those. So that's the point. You get the right knowledge, you have those tools in your toolkit. Now you know what to expect. Boom, you're ready to go. And that's what we want to do. And that's we've been doing that now for a decade.
Yeah, and you've been doing it very well. So definitely honored to have you on the show today and just to share your work and to collaborate with you and Kurt and Texas Ready in general. You guys are just doing so much in your local community and outwardly, even through the work with Texas Ready, providing heirloom seeds and providing education and this information, which really is in many ways lost wisdom and knowledge. I mean, there's been such a, divorcing and the connection to the land and the connection to spirituality and connection to the food we eat. And so it's just so refreshing that you are, able to articulate and share this very important knowledge and teaching people how to have high yield gardening and how to, be healthy really and spiritually and physically and mentally and emotionally. It's all connected. Absolutely. So let me do this. If you have a few more minutes, Lucinda, I'm going to open it up to questions. If anyone watching live has questions, that is the benefit of watching live. So go ahead, post your questions. We'll share them here and get those answered. But let me also, while we wait for folks to comment, just want to reiterate that you are able to meet Lucinda in person and her partner, business partner, Kurt, at the Exit and Build Land Summit. Let's just share the website real quick so you guys can get a feel for this awesome event, which Lucinda and Kurt have actually been a part of from the very beginning. So this will be our fourth ever Exit and Build Land Summit. We have a stellar lineup of speakers, including Lucinda and Kurt. And one of the workshops, actually, I know Kurt wasn't able to join with our tech issues today, but it's actually all about the eclipse. And so I think that's really cool because, we're talking about the urgency of the times to really get back to the land and to, have at least some sort of connection, whether you're growing your own food or going to a farm that's growing food and helping and doing work trade or, volunteer activities. So this is coming up May 16th through the 20th. We have immersive farm tours. We have amazing speakers, concert. This is going to be a really cool experience. We are very grateful to have Texas Ready as a sponsor. Guys, we have tons of testimonials if you want to check those out. Joel Salatin will actually be there in person. Yay! We've got Mike Adams coming in person. Basically, everyone's coming who's a speaker in person, with the exception of the co-founder of permaculture himself, David Holmgren. So we've got all sorts of great presenters, people who are experts in cash flow, revenue, entrepreneurship, ways to produce income on the land and to get out of the 9-to-5 rat race, people who are developing amazing intentional communities like Murat. He has The Ark, which is, of course, tied back biblically to the, creating a space of really just beautiful food abundance, what they're doing in Costa Rica. David Holmgren will be speaking about ways that you can even retrofit the house you have right now, even if you're living in the suburbs or, traditional neighborhood, to just, get to the land, to work with what you have and to, start somewhere. If you're not ready to move out to the country, there's tons of steps we can take today, whether it's composting or, like you said, getting the balcony garden going. Matt Powers will be speaking. We've got Melanie Rubin from Parallel Times. And, there's a lot of great topics that we're going to be covering. So anyway, you can get your tickets. Just click this button here. If you sign up with your email, if you're not able to come in person, it's actually kind of cool that, we're able to offer a live stream option. So you can actually watch the presentations live for free on day 1 and portion of day 2. We really just want as many people as possible to be consuming this information because it is so urgent, so pressing really to get back to the land. And that's a huge theme this year for the Exit and Build Land Summit. We're going to be really talking about the bigger calling we're all experiencing right now to have really a retrograde, getting back to the way our species evolved and getting back to the way that we've always, worked together and collaborated and co-created and had a need bigger than ourselves, a love and a connection to the land and connection to community and religion. And so this year's going to be super epic. And Lucinda, I'm just so excited that you and Kurt are joining us. And thank you so much.
It is our privilege.
Yeah. And for
Victory gardens, everybody knows what that is, right?
Yeah. Oh,
During
yeah.
World War
During the
II, women
Depression.
and children in their own backyards produced 50% of the agriculture in America during the World War II era. So, hey, if they could
Mhm.
do it, we can do it.
And
So,
after the Great Depression too, right? People were like,
right.
"Whoa, holy moly!" Like,
Right.
need to
Now
learn how
now
to garden
90
again. You know, that
90% of
was
the people knew how to garden back in the times of the Depression. We don't have 10% of Americans that know how to garden properly and feed themselves. So that is our passion, is to train up as many people as we can to get that skill set, put those tools in your toolkit, and build your self-esteem and your practical, sustainability.
absolutely. And whether it's some sort of whether it's because a bad situation transpires, or just if things continue the way they are gradually over time, either way, it's important that if like the
Mhm.
freak snowstorm we had here in Texas a few years ago, if something like that happens, like, wouldn't you like to have something like this, in your pantry, and learning and practicing every season, planting the seeds you have? I mean, I bought this and we're still, we have it's just important to have that mindset of preparedness, not to be fearful, but to learn how to use it in the meantime. Because, like, let's say an emergency does happen, you're not just going to learn how to garden overnight. Like, you have to really get your mind going and your hands in the dirt, and starting this like as soon as you really can. And so, Lucinda, let's just wrap up here. Sorry, I keep talking and dragging on. So I want you to just share, how can folks get involved? If you are, do you have any workshops coming up before the Exit and Build Land Summit? Of course, people will see you there, whether they can join the free for the first day and a half live stream, or come in person, which we do still have tickets left. We hope that you guys can come in person. And of course, you can visit Lucinda and Kurt and talk with them there. But what, like, I know there's texasready.net is the website, but do you guys have any workshops coming up? Should folks sign up for your
Thank
email
you. That
list?
is so kind of you to offer that. We don't. We were really pushing everybody to the Exit and Build and make that a really good early summer event. And no matter what part of the country you're living in, that timing is really good. We will be starting our second round of gardens, so that would be sort of our summer gardens right around that time. And I know that if you're from the Midwest, that is your first opportunity to put your seeds in. So it's a perfect timing. And another thing we want to offer is any American that wants to be growing, anybody that wants to be growing, we want to serve you. So if you have garden questions, whether you're a customer or not, that is irrelevant to us. We want you to be growing and being productive. So if you have a garden issue, ag issue, seed selection issue, whatever, you pick up the telephone and call us at the number that's on our website, 832-493-1357. We are at your service. I've had people call me from Lowe's, Home Depot. Should I buy this product? Should I not buy that product? We are here to help you. So please understand that that is part of the service to this incredible Exit and Build family is being built by the Bushes and their leadership. So we offer that. We also offer quite a bit of written material as reference. Go to our website, and there's about 8 books that you need in your reference library. So I think those would be the two things that we would say. And then in terms of the courses, we're kind of going away from the drive all the way to Montgomery, Texas, spend a lot of money at a hotel, show. And we're recommending that people spend that same money, but yet have the opportunity to revisit the training over and over and over through that course that we talked about much earlier, Rebecca. So I think the course is going to be better for people. I think the value is higher because you can, revisit the concepts, and because we have photographs of what does it take to build a bed, what is shishuggi band, how do you put your substrate in, how do you put uh, your PVC pipe together so that you have the right kind of water pressure coming out in the lighter bed. All that is visually done, which is really difficult just in a lecture format. So I
Yeah.
direct you to that web to that course.
Awesome. Well, Lucinda, thank you so much for joining today. I am so excited to see you and Kurt at the Exit and Build Land Summit. We hope that you all will join us. So I will sign you off here. Thank you so much for joining. And I'll just do a quick little goodbye. So thank you, everyone, for tuning in. This was episode 16 of Live Free with Rebecca Bush podcast and YouTube live stream. Lucinda has some amazing experience in gardening that she has just always shared the knowledge base, with our audience. And this year, there's actually going to be a shift in focus and really focusing on building bridges, growing gardens, but also growing relationships, because it's so important to have community, to have other people to do this with. And the work that Lucinda and Kurt are doing in East Texas is just completely what I think is like the solution for folks to get involved and see how this can be done in a fulfilling and very joyful way. So they'll be sharing about that at the Exit and Build Land Summit. And Kurt's doing a workshop actually about the the eclipse. But what does all this mean with the various eclipses we've had ever since 2017? Like, what are these signs in the sky? There's so much happening. And are these larger, universal messages and from God, or like the spiritual connection of like waking up in this new era of human consciousness and new era of peace, how is this all tying into our bigger picture goals with exiting the cities and building alternative systems, building gardens, building community, and just the era that we're living in and the urgency and the time being now. So really love what Lucinda and Kurt are doing with Texas Ready. We are excited to have them at this year's event. And I just wanted to thank you all for tuning in to today's episode. I actually have folks showing up right now for a gardening party. So I'm going to sign off, and hopefully we'll see you guys next week. I'll have Deb, our rock star realtor, on. She has been helping us immensely to find a larger property. We're working on a larger scale eco development. She has lots of experience, not only in homesteading. She actually used to live in an earthship herself and lives on a homestead even presently, but she's helped many clients find land. And so I'm really excited to have her on the podcast so that she can share her experiences in real estate and also in homesteading. So I hope that you can join next week. That is going to be Wednesday at 3 p.m. on April 10th. Yeah, I think it's April 10th, but that'll be episode 17. So thanks so much for tuning in. Thanks to Texas Ready for being a proud sponsor of this year's Exit and Build Land Summit. I hope that you guys can all join us. We have free virtual tickets. You literally have nothing to lose. You're going to be totally blown away. This is always such a success every year. And this year we're really shifting our focus so that everything's grounded in the urgency of regenerating the earth, reconnecting with one another, and growing food and building community and style. And we're just so excited to see you guys in person. If you can join us, May 17th through the 19th will be the conference portion. Here's the website, the exitandbuildlandsummit.com. However, we do also have farm tours, immersive farm tours. If you buy a ticket to the conference, you'll be invited to go to the Central Texas farm tours. Are going to be on Thursday, May 16th. We'll visit 3 different farms, and you do have an option to also go to a kickoff party, which will be fun. And then on Monday, we are actually heading out to Sovereignty Ranch. Molly Englehart was actually just on John's podcast earlier today. She's doing some great work. In fact, on that note, she's actually hosting Confluence this weekend. So if you want to see the eclipse, I know we were talking about this earlier in the episode. This is literally the best part of the country to, really the world to watch the eclipse. So this is in Bandera, Texas. It's about 2 hours away from Bastrop, Texas. So if you're local, Central Texas area, and you want to see the eclipse, or if you're able to travel on short notice, Confluence is actually happening this weekend. You can learn more about the event if you just type in on a search browser, Confluence, Texas. The event will pop right up. Again, it's at Sovereignty Ranch. I hope that you guys can join us. Thank you for joining today. I am going to sign off because I could talk all day long. Really appreciate you all. Have a great rest